have got the new HomePod, but is it worth $300 compared to spending $200 on two HomePod minis? And how does it sound compared to the original HomePod? Well, today I will let you guys hear for yourselves the difference in volume and sound quality with 3 different tracks using our high-end $850 microphone setup. Not only that, but I'm gonna run a sound frequency analyzer so you guys can visually see the difference in the bass, the mids, and the highs along with volume. Now, the weird thing about the new HomePod is that they removed 2 of the tweeters that were there previously, and the weight is also lower as well. So technically, they made it lower quality. It has an Apple Watch chip in there, an older one. So we'll see how it sounds. Now on the back, you guys could see that the cable is now removable, which is really nice in case it gets messed up. So they're trying to save some money, but the other weird thing is that they dropped the price by $50 compared to the original while making it less nice, I guess, in a way, or cheaper to build. But the original was also on sale for $300 all the time. So you guys see at the top here, now we have the volume buttons ingrained in here, and it's a little bit concave. So I don't know what other cost reductions came into play, but now let's go ahead and start listening to the differences. We are gonna start out with the classic Max Tech song, and we're gonna cycle between all 3 of these multiple times so you guys can hear the difference.
Take me to a world of silver, no more heartbreaks, tears, painkillers. Take me somewhere unfamiliar, bring me back to where we started. Get me out of now. To where we started.
All right, guys, so that first one was a loudness test, and boy, was there a difference. The HomePod minis that are paired up reached 78 decibels. The original HomePod reached 84, and it's a lot louder, but the new HomePod actually reached 86 consistently at the loud part, and it was the only one that gave me a loud warning on my Apple Watch. So there's a big difference. Now I'm gonna make them all the same volume so you guys can listen to the sound quality differences.
Take me to a world of silver, no more heartbreaks, tears, painkillers. Take me somewhere unfamiliar, bring me back to where we started. Get me out of now. To where we started. Get me out of now. To where we started.
Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and with that, I'm actually gonna be comparing the new HomePod to the Echo Studio and the Google Nest, their highest end one, so make sure you guys are subscribed. Now, I think that the HomePod minis were the most balanced in terms of lows, mids, and highs. Now, I do wish they had more low and bass. The original HomePod actually had the most bass. It was a little bit boomy, it dug really low though, whereas the new HomePod, the highs really stand out, they're brighter, and the mids are pushed up as well. So I feel like the best balance are these, but they do not have that amazing bass. So now let's go ahead and switch to our next track. So for this one, I have to say that I prefer the original HomePod. This is where the minis just couldn't keep up with their single drivers. Everything sounded very mushed together. Not bad, but the new HomePod, the highs really stood out, and to me personally, a little bit too much. But now let's go ahead and listen to this rock track that makes it much more difficult.
I see it coming as we press on. We will not relent. Now we're never till the day we dream of. I see it coming.
one, you guys let me know your thoughts, but I have to say that the original HomePod sounded the best. That is crazy, and I don't even own this. This is Vadim's. The new HomePod, while it does sound really good, I think the highs just stand out a little bit too much. And you can EQ that in the Apple Music app, but if you AirPlay to it, those don't come into effect. Now, this is where the minis, the ones that I actually own, sound by far the worst, close to an Amazon Echo cheap speaker, at least getting there, because there's too many frequencies happening. Now, as for the frequency analysis, I set all of them to the same volume. Here we have the HomePod 1, the HomePod 2, and the mini HomePods. Now I tried to layer these together in Photoshop and shift the colors a little bit with opacity, but it's not great. But what you can see is that the HomePod 2 has much more bass down low. They start to kick up at 40 Hertz, but the HomePod 2 is much louder in that area, all the way up to around 100 where they meet. Now here it's hard to tell because they flip and the colors are too similar, so let me go back to this original. The HomePod 1 at around 160 is quite a bit louder than the HomePod 2. The same thing goes in the mids over here. The HomePod original is louder, and in the 500s, leading up to 1,000, the original HomePod is louder. But when it comes to high frequencies, the HomePod 2 has a lot more sparkle, it's a lot more bright. As for the HomePod minis, right here you guys see how much less bass you have. It doesn't really start to kick up until around 60, 70 Hertz, and even then, the bass is so much lower than the HomePod 2. Now around 160 they meet, all the way up through around 400 or so, and then the minis start to dip back down lower. Now around 1,000 to 1,500 they're fairly similar, but the minis have a dip over here, meet back up about 2.5, and then in the high end, the HomePod 2 has a lot more sparkle. The highs really stand out. So the minis are much more flat across the board, and then they lack kind of bass compared to the HomePod 2. With all that said, let's answer the original question. Should you buy the new HomePod or get two HomePod minis? And is this better than the original? Well, I think if you can afford it, go with this HomePod. It's way louder, and later down the line, if you have some more cash, you can add another one. The minis are nice, they sound pretty decent, but if you play them at loud volumes, they don't get loud and the sound quality goes down, which here for this quality test, I did not max them out. They're at 90%. And the original HomePod, if you have one of those, I would say do not upgrade. If you can buy a used second one on the market, now that these new ones come down, the prices will go down. Just buy a used one. With that, setting this thing up, it took a lot longer than the original one, probably because it has slower Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And I just don't know if it's worth upgrading or buying new ones over good price, still good quality, older ones. So that is my opinion. You guys let me know your thoughts, and make sure you guys subscribe above to see the comparison with the Echo Studio and the Google Nest. Check out one of those videos right over there, and I'll see you in the next one.